So you're thinking of self-publishing? Oh, what's that? Oh yes, I would be okay with you buying another 1,000,000 copies of my book. My name is Cam C. Wolf, and despite what my ex-wife might tell you, I know quite a bit, especially when it comes to self-publishing. Today I'll be running you through step by step on how to self-publish your book. You'll be surprised by how simple it is. I've got 13 very simple, very easy steps for you to follow from start to finish. By the time you finish watching this video, you will be one step closer to everyone loving your new book. Love for your art can be timeless, unlike the love that your kids may have for you, which could someday end quite abruptly. Hell, your kids could even start calling your skank ex-wife's new boyfriend Dad, which is a confusing and terrifying experience. I'm coming for you, Greg. I'm fucking coming for you. You can have that bitch Janice, but you cannot have my kids. So let's get right into the video. What's shakin' booktube, my name's Cam and welcome back to another video. It's a writing tips video today specifically on the process of self-publishing. I know that a lot of people that watch my stuff have come from videos such as my self-publishing experience, which is a bit similar to what this video will be, although this video is more steps rather than just me telling you what I did back then. Or maybe you watched my videos self-publishing versus traditional publishing. Self-publishing is a super easy process. Well, at least it can be if you know what it is you should be doing. So I've broken it down into 13 very easy steps that take you from the very beginning to the very end. If you want to, write these down just so you have a bit of a guide. Maybe your process will have more steps, but you should be doing these 13 things either way. Or don't. F me, right? Number 1 is the obvious one, and that is the idea. I can't tell you how to get the idea for your story. Chances are if you're watching this video, you already have an idea. Could be from a dream, it could be from sitting on the cliffs of Nicaragua watching a sunrise, I don't know. Maybe you are out experiencing the beauty of nature and you just birthed a mind baby of this brilliant idea of a novel that simply must be written. Who knows? Number 1 is the idea. Number 2, probably the most important and essential part of the whole process, is write it. Through the course of this video, keep an eye on this corner up here because I'll be leaving a card every time I mention a topic that I have a more thorough video on. So in this video, I'm not giving you tips on how to write your story. I'm just telling you that step 2 of this is write the story. What I will say is that this is the first draft, so you cannot and you should not be live editing. That means don't overanalyze everything you write paragraph by paragraph. Don't worry too much about spelling, grammar, loopholes, anything like that. Just get it out. This is the most important and for most people, the most difficult part of writing a book. Your number 1 priority here in step 2 should be getting the story on the paper. It doesn't matter if the story's going to change down the road, you just need to finish it. Step 3, first review. Wait exactly 1 week, at least a week. Probably wouldn't recommend longer than a week. It's up to you. Give it at least a week. Go back and read it. Start to finish. And you're not looking for grammar or spelling errors again. You're just going through looking for things in the story that you might want to change, improve on, etc. Loopholes maybe. This review is for the story. That's it. After that, you go to step 4, which is finding beta readers. You need at least 3. And unless they've got a long history of being brutally honest with you, I wouldn't suggest going for mum and dad or your brother and sister or your very best friend, whatever. Look for people who will be impartial and people that you know will be honest with you. A good way of being able to tell is that they should be people that you don't mind hanging around with, but don't really want to spend a lot of time with either. People that have no problem telling you when you've done something shit. Give them at least a couple of weeks to read through it and provide honest and thorough feedback. Again, they're not looking for spelling or error. I mean, they could technically mark down if they notice any grammar or spelling errors, might help later on, but really, they're just testing the waters on the story. They're telling you if anything doesn't make sense, if anything seems maybe too offensive, or anything just doesn't sit right with them or is boring. They're a test audience. That's it. So during that time, work on something else or have a break. You deserve it. Taking a break's going to help down the line anyway. You need the break. Take it while you can. So then you get the story back and you're going to go through it again. This is the second review. And once again, you're not looking for spelling or grammar. That comes later, just don't worry about that right now. For now, you're implementing any of the advice from the beta readers that you think works. And you really do have to keep an open mind here. I'm not saying you have to implement every change that the beta readers suggest, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you're defensive about it and you reject everything they say and you just think to yourself, I'm right, they're wrong, you're going to have a hard time being a writer and you're probably not going to find a lot of success because people are going to see you as very pretentious and closed off to criticism, which no one likes in an artist. So read through the whole thing, once again, implement any changes you think might help the story, look for any consistency flaws, anything like that. Again, it's just making sure the story is as polished as possible. Once you've done the second review, give it another couple of days, 2 or 3 days. Then you're on to step 6, which is the third review. This time you are looking for spelling or grammar issues. I would suggest using Grammarly. They didn't sponsor this video or anything like that, but it's super helpful. It scans the entire document. You can go through all of the errors that it finds, which 99% of the time is pretty accurate. And this will just help the process for the editor later down the line, or the proofreader. Again, check the cards because I'm sure I've done a video where I give way more detail about Grammarly and how useful it is. Alright, so you've finished the third review. Hopefully you're not sick of it by now, because if you can't read your own book 3 times and still enjoy it, less than half of the people who read it for the first time are going to enjoy it either. You should know by now whether it's where it needs to be story-wise. And that's why we go to step 7. This is pretty much the hairspray of self-publishing, because it's kind of locking in what you've got so far. You'll be hiring a proofreader/editor, and you need to do this. Do not skip on this. I did it when I first published my first book. I've fixed that since then, but it still gets me bad reviews. And rightly so, because there is a lot of errors in there that I thought I got, I thought my beta readers got, but they didn't. You need a professional to do this. You need someone who is being paid so that they are motivated enough to go through with a magnifying glass. You can't do this yourself. A really good source for finding a proofreader is Upwork or Fiverr. I used Upwork for all of mine and it worked out really, really well. You can find some legit professionals there, but always make sure they have a lot of reviews first. Always make sure they have a lot of examples of their work in a portfolio. You need to make sure this isn't someone doing it for the first time. It's also going to come in a lot cheaper than a professional. Obviously, if you can afford to get one of the $800 ones to do it, that's probably the best way to go, but if, like me, you're looking for a bit of a budget option, Fiverr/Upwork, I would honestly say just as good. There are a lot of long-term professionals who have done this stuff for the bigger companies before, looking for some work on the side, freelance, and that's where they do it. Number 8, this is the final review. This is the last time you're going to read through it yourself, and that's just to make sure that it really is as good as it can be, because this is what other people will be reading. Once that's all done, once the book is finally finished in full, you go to step 9, and it gets a lot easier from here. Step 9 is hire a cover designer. Again, don't skimp on this. You can go to Fiverr or Upwork. Make sure you're finding people who have a long track record and a good portfolio. Don't do this yourself, no matter how much of a graphic artist you think you are. Just don't. Hire a professional. I've seen so many, and time again I've seen this happen, where you find these people who are pretty artistic and quite good at what they do, but then they do their own cover and it just doesn't look good, and because they've done it themselves for their own book, they're incapable of seeing just how flawed it is. You need a professional to do this. You have too much invested in this book. You can't do it yourself. Obviously, at this point, you need to have decided whether you're going to use a pseudonym/author name or not. I've got a whole video on that. And you'll also need to have decided on the title of the book. I would recommend floating the title with the beta readers as well, just to see how interesting it is. It needs to have a bit of a grab. It needs to grab them. So once again, you can go to Upwork or Fiverr for this to find the cover designer. I've done it for every book I've done, and I've always been pretty happy with the results. I think this is a fantastic cover, and this was done by a designer on Upwork. Make sure you're patient with them. Give them the time they need to get it done properly. Don't be impatient. And don't try to rip them off. Like, obviously, this is a cheaper option than the big companies, but they're trying to make a living. Pay what you can. And the more you pay them, the better job they're going to do anyway. So you get the cover back, and then you're on to step 10. Everything's finished. The book, the cover, it is all ready to be put together. So what you need to do is upload it to a supplier. Now, personally, I used CreateSpace. They've now integrated with Kindle Direct Publishing, which is essentially the same thing. It's owned by Amazon, so it's seamless integration. When you finish uploading through them, your book is then quite easily available on Amazon.com. But other people use, Ingram, Spark, that kind of stuff. Just do your research, see what fits for you. Once you upload it all to the supplier, let's say in this instance, Kindle Direct Publishing, KDP, that's the Amazon one. Say you upload it through them Set the release date for a future date. You need to give yourself a bit of time to actually market this book. And I like to think there's 2 stages of marketing, and that's pre and post. And you're in pre right now. What that means is that you need to set up, an author website. You need to set up the social media, all that kind of business side of stuff. You need to have a platform before your book comes out. So yeah, that's step 11, marketing your book for the first time. And that's making the website, making the business email, making the Twitter, Facebook, whatever else you think is going to help. I would highly recommend having the social platforms. And then for pre-marketing, you're going to focus on the people who are going to be invested in it before it's even out, and that's going to be people like friends and family. You need to sell it to them first. Once you gain their support, they'll, how mums and grandmas are and stuff, they'll start telling all their friends, and that's going to lay a bit of a foundation of people to buy your book, a bit of a foundation of an audience base, which is what you need first. Use this pre-marketing time to really set the groundwork for your book and for the people who are going to buy it. So number 12 is the most exciting step, the best step, I reckon, and that is release the book. Make it available for purchase. Buy yourself a ton of copies from the supplier so that you'll have them ready if people want to buy autographed copies, if you need to sell them to people that you know physically. Some people like to host a launch party, that kind of stuff. Maybe even do a giveaway or some kind of event, just something that draws attention from outside to the release of your book. And that brings me to the last step, step 13, which is post-marketing. And this is a step that kind of never ends, and that is that you need to be always marketing your book. Straight after the release, I would recommend doing something like a Facebook paid ad or a Twitter paid ad, some form of paid advertising. Just chuck what you can into that, maybe like 50 to 100 to more if you can. Just get your book seen by as many eyes as possible. And then as time goes on, hopefully the book will market itself. Once it starts getting some purchases and some reviews, etc., your work is done. Obviously, you still want to be marketing it where and when you can, but, that's a whole different thing. For example, you could start a BookTube channel with the sole purpose of marketing your book and then realize that you actually really enjoy making BookTube videos and kind of forgetting that you even write to begin with. Hell, you could even go 2 years without writing any more books. Whew. Jesus. Well, there you go. That's the whole self-publishing process in as little time as possible. I hope this helps you out. Let me know if you have any questions about any of those steps or if there's anything you think I've missed. Just let me know what you think. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Catch ya.